Howdy, I'm John Biggs with TechCrunch, and I'm here with Salman Khan. Khan Academy, everybody knows Khan Academy. You guys just launched something amazing on stage today. It's sort of a programming language for kids?
Yeah, well, it's using JavaScript as the bare bones, but it's JavaScript plus a lot. It's actually written by John Resig, who's the creator of jQuery, one of the most famous JavaScript programmers in the world, on our team. And the thinking was, can we teach computer science in a way that isn't reductionist, so to speak, that doesn't start off with, here is a variable, assign 5, it's like, no, computer science is a creative field. Let's start you from the get-go creating stuff, creating art, creating animations, creating video games, but do it in a way that's real programming, so you're just doing JavaScript. And then another, so when you look at it, they have a canvas part, and then they have a exercise, kind of where you type in your code. And immediately you can start using libraries, start using function calls, and another overlay that's there, and it's really inspired by a lot of the work of Brett Victor, which is the idea of when people are first learning to program, actually even when they're mature programmers, it's incredibly valuable to get immediate feedback on the code they're writing. And so there's a lot of voodoo going on behind the scenes, so that as you type, not only does it give you real-time errors or tips that might help you correct yourself, but they're meaningful, you can actually, it's actually constantly interpreting your code. So you can actually create an animation, the animation's running, and while the animation's running, you can change the colors, you can change the parameters of the animation.
Oh,
and I myself have found, just doing that, you can create designs, you can ways of thinking about your code that you've never been able to do before as an experienced programmer.
So very specific, this is a lot like Logo was in the old days. So you say rectangle, draw like rectangle, and you give it the coordinates, or you do certain things, but this is much more powerful than even those early languages.
Yeah, I mean there's elements of Logo and there's elements of Scratch, which they're both very geared to visual programming and getting kids involved and just giving instructions to something. And I think what's different here, this was something that we felt very strongly about, is it should be a real programming language. JavaScript is, in our minds, probably the most useful programming language. I mean, if you're going to do anything on the web, you're going to have to know it. So we did it in JavaScript, and on top of that, but it has all of the things that you need so that it's not frustrating for an initial programmer. And we also think it's, when you ever do basic programming class, you start with all of the, what's a variable, what's an array, and it takes a while for you to start using libraries of other people's code, even though that's what a real programmer does all of the time. And so we thought it was very important, and actually very intuitive. We've seen 6-year-olds actually just say, oh, so there's a function called circle, and they start to learn, I can pass it this or that, and because they can dynamically change the parameters, they get the intuition for what those parameters do. They can say, oh, I mean, I've seen a 7-year-old understand a coordinate plane just by playing with those parameters.
So this is a full bore system, so it's recursion, it's all the good stuff that you would
can do everything, and we're adding more and more. I mean, we actually think this could be a platform for just general development so that people can share and fork and whatever else.
In your experience, what has really stemmed this interest in computer programming in kids? I think Estonia has, they're giving laptops to first graders, or they're teaching them programming. There are a number of examples of this. Khan Academy is obviously at the forefront of this. Why is this important right now?
Yeah, you go back, I don't know, as far as you want to go back, everyone in education will say, oh, kids need to learn to understand why this math is important. And they need to do more hands-on things. And they need to get more, experiment with things. And when you really think, because of that, they'll start creating these somewhat artificial word problems, or try to tie it to finance, and those are somewhat reasonable. But the real hands-on mathematics is computer science. Yeah, I mean, the only times I can say that I've ever used a sine or cosine function is when I'm creating an animation, or when I'm trying to rotate something in a computer program, or when I've used matrices, is when I'm actually trying to create some type of a simulation. So here, kids get to see it real world, and so instead. So, what we've always advocated at Khan Academy is, instead of class time being for lecture and people just sitting and listening, it should be for interaction and projects. And so hopefully this could be one of those tools that could be used for that project time, for real meaningful, motivated math and kind of computer science thinking. And it's a way for us to introduce something that there isn't enough of right now, and especially K through 12, but practically K through life. And
what's next in this space? Is there hardware, open source hardware that you guys are looking at, or is there any way to get it off the screen and onto the I guess the desk, the table?
Yeah, so we're looking in like a more physical incarnation of it. I mean, people have come to us with other types of project type stuff. We're looking at all of that. The CS, the computer science stuff, we are thinking of, okay, how do we get it out of this environment? So maybe it can be used for students to make mobile apps, or to make screensavers, or to make desktop apps, or whatever else. So we are looking at that.
All right, excellent. And where are people going to look at this, the new project?
So you go to khanacademy.org, it's profiled on the front page, but it's www.khanacademy.org/CS.
Perfect. All right, thanks a lot.